G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
Ral, thanks so much for making the time to talk with us today. Look, I guess as an experienced business owner yourself, I know there's going to be plenty of gold that comes out of this discussion for our audience, but why don't we start by getting you to tell us a little bit about who you are and what is it you're doing these days?
Okay. Well, in a nutshell, for over 40 years ago, I started my own business in Alaska. And it eventually morphed into working with my husband in a business that he started right about the time that we met. We ran that business together for 25 years, built it to 8 digits in annual revenue, and sold it to Alaska Airlines. And since then, we've pivoted into a couple of different industries, including owning and leasing out small cruise ships, and most recently investing in multifamily real estate in the United States, where we are currently partners in over 6,000 apartment units in about 5 states in the U.S. So we've been able to pivot and use the expertise that we gained from growing and running our first major business, because the principles are the same no matter what industry you're in. So what I'm doing now is I've started a small business to share all the learning and all of the experience that I've garnered over these 40 plus years with other entrepreneurs, because I want to make it easier for them than it was for me. I had to learn it the hard way. And I'm thinking, just let me know what your challenges and problems are. And I've probably been there and I can probably help you out.
Yeah. And it is so true, isn't it? Like most of the problems that people encounter have probably been solved by somebody else somewhere. It's just about knowing where to find that help. So I guess if you had to describe the sort of clients that you're seeking to help and what it is that might cause them to be looking for that help, how would you describe that?
I would say that it's an entrepreneur who's very much involved in operating their business, being up to their eyeballs in the day-to-day operation, doing too much themselves, not delegating enough, not spending the time to build their team and to develop their culture and use enough leverage, etc. And there are principles that need to be applied to any business to make sure that you've got a rock star business that can last through whatever the environment, economy, and whatever throws at you. And I have developed 6 principles that I've garnered from all my 40 plus years. I've figured out which were the most important principles that occurred for us and that we solved. And, instead of calling it a 3-legged stool, you could call it a 6-legged stool.
6-legged stool
is the foundation for a really strong, successful business that's here to last. But the most important thing that I want to teach is that you don't have to do it all yourself. You need to be able to work on your business instead of in it, so that you can craft this business that can grow and scale and still allow you to have a wonderful life.
And I mean, it is a phrase we hear a lot, working on your business rather than in it. And if I'm understanding you correctly, your definition of working on your business is focusing on these 6 principles. Is that a reasonable assumption? Yeah.
That's a simple explanation of it. And, it starts with looking at your systems. What systems do you have? Everybody's got some kind of system, but most everybody doesn't have enough in the way of systems. And systems can make things run more smoothly and more efficiently. And systems need to use leverage. Systems need to empower your team to do things for you. I use the expression, you need to duplicate yourself, because as the owner operator, you're making a lot of decisions and you're doing a lot of things that you think nobody else can do. I'm the only one that knows how to do this. And so you're not letting go of enough. And there's a discipline and a practice of learning how to record what it is that you're doing, down even to the minutest decision that you make. How are you making the decision about advertising or marketing? And how can you translate that decision-making criteria so that someone else can do that when you're not there? Hopefully you're on vacation and somebody can still be taking
That's a
care of
nice
it for
thought.
you.
Everyone appreciates that thought. So tell me, is systems one of the first principles that you start working on? And I guess where I'm going there is tell me a little bit about these 6 principles, just if you could lay them out for us.
Yes, absolutely. The first one is systems. And the second one is to make sure that you're measuring and tracking your performance. You have your data. You have to decide what data is the most important to track, and then develop the reporting mechanisms and have your data available to you, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is that you need for your business. Every business is unique in that way. And then you need to utilize leverage in some way or another. Most of us are not leveraging ourselves enough. And of course, with the automation that's available today, there are so many ways to obtain leverage just through using automation. So that's one of the principles. And the next principle is building your team. Now, if you're a solopreneur, your team might be you and maybe a virtual assistant or a part-time, executive assistant, or, maybe it's just you and your bookkeeper. I don't know, but it's still a team, and so you have to figure out who's going to be doing what and how each team member is going to take on their role and make sure that all the elements are covered. I've read books where it talks about, you have to put your hat on. Are you the marketing hat today? Are you the manager hat? Are you the operations hat? And make sure that all of these various roles are being covered, even if it's a very small team. So that's the team aspect of it. And then the next is your culture. I think too many businesses neglect to actually think about what their culture is and what they want it to be. And the culture needs to start with what your own values and principles are. And how do you translate those so that it's conveyed throughout your business, whether it's just, you and that one other team member, or to all of your customers or your community. You have to be able to state what you stand for and what are those core values that make up the fundamentals of your business, and be very intentional about it and have that carried through so that, particularly your customers know what your principles are. And then customer service. Oh my goodness. I could go on and on and on about how important customer service is because, in the end, why do we exist as a business? We exist to please our customers. If we don't have happy customers, we're not going to be in business very long. And hopefully most of us have repeat customers. Well, you're definitely not going to get a repeat customer if you don't make them happy. And then, of course, there's, negative word of mouth that can kill your business, and, and on and on. So paying attention to your customer service and making sure that everything, all of these other principles flow into your customer service. So your systems have to make sure that they've got customer service in mind. Your data tracking and pulling the feedback from your customers to find out what their experience has been and what they liked and what they didn't like. That all has to go into making sure you have a very robust customer service program, and use leverage and create your team and teach your team how important your customers are. And then, of course, your culture needs to revolve around making sure that the customer is the center of everything. And all of that combined, those are the 6 principles, and they all have to work together. You can't have, one of those legs of the stool missing, or you're not going to have it. You're not going to have that rock star business that you want. And that's how you work on your business too, is making sure that you get all of those elements in place. And the more you do that, and more you can step back and ask yourself, okay, how am I doing in each of these areas, and make sure that all of those elements are being addressed, then you've got empowerment going on throughout your organization, and you can step back and maybe take that vacation or go take a yoga retreat, whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah,
Go fishing.
sounds great. All of the above.
Do you need a guide on how to build your own money printing marketing machine? Do you feel like marketing is a mysterious art, only cracked by a chosen few? Fear not, we get it. Mastering marketing can be like taming a dragon. Download a copy of the Marketing Funding Flywheel ebook, which has 41 pages packed with over 50 tools and tips for your business. Let's get into it. Head to growsmallbusiness.com. We have plenty of resources waiting for you in the footer of our website.
So let's bring this to life for a minute with a real example, and whether that's your business or a business that you've worked closely with. Can you tell me a bit about, I guess, how over time people have been able to really work on all of these principles and where it's able to lead them?
Okay. Well, we did that very, very much in the business that we had for 25 years. But I have to say that it didn't happen overnight.
No, it never does.
We had to learn what we needed to do in the first place, which is what I'm trying to cut that learning process out for people and say, okay, this is what you need to know, so that you don't spend quite as long as we did. But, we learned what to do, took 5 years to implement it all. And then we were able to hand this very robust and well-rounded organization over to managers so that they could run it and we could go off and have our second home on Maui and play around on our yacht. So, that worked out very well for us. But then in another example, we have a friend who started a business on Maui. We helped her start it. It's a vacation rental company. And she started off representing our condos on Maui. And to begin with, she had no system. She was just doing everything herself, just trying to, keep all of the balls in the air. She was working constantly. We couldn't go out to dinner with her without her taking phone calls, during the meal, or we couldn't have a meeting with her without her, excusing herself to take a call and handle either a reservation or a customer who needed something. She was just constantly on call. And over a period of time, we taught her how to do each of these things, create your systems, write the job manuals, be able to train other people so you can delegate appropriately. There's too many people delegate and they say, oh, that doesn't work. Well, it's because they're not doing it right. There's a system and an art to delegating properly so that you actually get the result that you want. And a lot of people fail at delegating. And so then they say, well, I can't delegate. I have to do it myself. But that's because they didn't learn the art of delegating. So we taught her how to do that. And, she developed her systems. She started developing the reports. We told her, this is what you need to measure. And as owners of the condos, we want to know this and this and this every week, every month, and, give us your data and track it. And then she started, bringing on team members, slowly, and she would start training them and using the manuals and using the systems. And then she developed her own culture, and her team grew, and her customer service was excellent. She excelled in customer service, and that was really one of the foundations of the growth of her business. And in like 10 years, she 10x'd her business. And now the condos that we had are just a small percentage of her overall business. She represents, over 100 different owners on Maui, and she's doing very well. She takes a month's vacation every now and then. So yeah, so it's very much, it works. It absolutely works.
So I'm going to throw a difficult question at you here. But if there was one thing that you felt a small business owner should take away from this conversation, and this is particularly tricky given we've got six very important principles, what would you say, what should a business owner take away from this conversation?
really very simple. You want to be the business owner, not the business operator.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to work on the business. We've talked about it. A lot of people say work on your business instead of in it, but maybe they don't understand what that means. But basically you want to be the owner and not the operator. You need to be able to create an organization that runs, you can be the orchestra leader, if you will, and have a whole bunch of different players in the orchestra doing what they're supposed to be doing, but you have to set it up and you have to make sure that all of those pieces and tools are there so that the orchestra can play the right tune. And you have to decide what tune that is.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, the distinction between a business owner and a business operator. And a lot of people get into business, obviously they're operating to begin with, but what they really want long term is to be the owner, and how to step from being an operator to an owner. And certainly within our business, I guess one of the first things we do is actually help people model that financially, what it looks like, because they say, oh, I can't afford to hire all these people to help me and allow me to take all this time off. And we say, well, what would it look like financially? Do we have to change revenue? Is it margins? What is it that is going to create the financial environment for you to be able to step away and still know that everything that needs to be done is getting done? And again, just helping people think through that process of moving from an operator to an owner, and making sure that all of these 6 principles that you talk about are still being taken care of. So I think that's a really nice distinction and a great way to summarize our discussion. So thank you.
I would say that you can't scale a business at all unless you have all of these principles working for you.
Mm.
And if you are the owner and you have time to step back, you can start another business, or something else. You can, use your free time however you want. But what most business owners want when they start, get the entrepreneurial bug, is they want freedom. They want to be able to do what they want to do. And then they find out, oh my God, this business owns me. I don't own it. And that's what we want to get people away from. You want to be able to enjoy your life. You deserve to enjoy your life. So learn how to do it.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. So if this conversation has triggered some interest from our audience, how can they find out a little bit more about your course and about how you might be able to help them?
Well, I would love it if they would visit my website. That's the easiest way, I think. And it's ralwest.com. So RALWEST.com. And there's information about the course. I have a free webinar. It's all there on the website, and a bit about my background and what I've done in my 40 plus years.
Excellent. Well, Ralph, thank you so much for the conversation. That's been really insightful. I love your 6 principles. I think they're very valid, and I can't wait to check out this course myself.
Very good, Rob. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ralph.
Want to help other small business owners improve their business? There's one quick thing you can do, which is jump over to iTunes and leave a review. Or if you don't have an account, follow us on Spotify.